Hi, Dave Roscoe here. It is Thursday, October 16th, 2025, and we've got quite a bit to talk about today. Milkshake Maddie put out a video today, and he did an excellent job explaining the drama that is developing within Binance in relation to the recent crypto crash. And the link for that video will be in the description. There's a new blog post from the PyCore team talking about updates to the Pi App Studio, and we'll talk about that. I've got some user comments that we will also talk about, and an item on the rumor mill that I also want to talk about. But first, the metrics. The circulating supply is 8.27 billion Pi, and there were 7,526 user accounts migrated yesterday, totaling 1.7 million Pi. Not a lot of accounts migrated, but I'm just reporting what actually was. There is currently 35.9 million Pi in the Pi migration wallet, and migrations are happening now. The migrated unlocked rewards are at 3.18 billion Pi, and there is 7.4 million Pi unlocked in the last 24 hours, and now free to be traded on the open markets. The PyCore team has put out a blog post with updates to the Pi App Studio. And let's have a look. Pi App Studio has been updated to make app creation more accessible, customizable, and integrated within the Pi ecosystem. These latest updates improve creator and user experiences, expand AI-assisted creation capabilities, and strengthen the connection between creators and the broader community. Pi App Studio is now directly accessible from the top navigation bar in Pi Desktop, positioned alongside the Pi mining app and node. This replaces its previous location within the Utilities tab in the Pi mining app. Creators now have expanded AI customization features within Pi App Studio. Both chatbot and custom app creators can now generate logos for their apps using AI. AI-generated welcome messages can be created in the chatbot workflow. The App Studio now supports further AI-assisted editing for chatbots and custom apps, enabling iterative improvement directly within the creation workflow. Now that is huge, because previously, if the AI didn't give you exactly what you wanted, you were on your own and you had no help. So this is great. I really like that. These capabilities make it easier for creators to refine their products while maintaining creative flexibility. And they have just some screenshots here showing these new capabilities. A new interface for discovering apps within the App Studio allows pioneers to explore, vote on, and stake Pi for community apps. The apps showcased within this interface also serve as examples for creators, providing reference points and inspiration on what types of apps exist and gain traction within the ecosystem. To support better browsing, presentation, and onboarding within the Pi App Studio and the ecosystem, creators can now assign categories to their apps, which are displayed in the ecosystem interface in the Pi browser to help pioneers browse and find apps more easily. Chatbot UI formatting has been refined for improved readability and user experience. The App Studio demo video has been added to the front page, providing a visual introduction and quick start guide for new creators. Together, these updates strengthen Pi App Studio's role as an accessible, AI-assisted environment for scalable app creation within the Pi ecosystem. Each improvement contributes to a more connected, functional, and participatory network where creators can easily build, refine, and share applications that expand Pi's utility and innovation. Now, that's a big news. That's a very welcome update. And I really am happy to see that they've addressed the ability to edit apps using the App Studio once they've been created. That was a huge gap, and they've now closed it. So that's great. So get out there, you try out this tool, use it to make apps, and let's see what you people can create. So I have some user comments I want to go through, and this user asks, most of the mainnet apps are still unverified, not fully vetted by the Pi core team. That's a reason for me not to use them. I'm uncertain if I should log into them or not. Can you ask the Pi moderator about this? And then someone else responded, same with me yet. No information available to guide us. I don't want to take risks. Now, it's totally understandable. With so many people getting burned, I understand that you're not wanting to take risks. But the real primary risk you need to worry about is your passphrase. If any of these websites ask for your passphrase, go away. Report it if you can. But short of passphrase, there's not much they can do. I mean, they may ask for personal information, and just like anywhere else, that's up to you whether you feel comfortable providing it. If you don't, by no means are you required to use these apps. If any of these apps make you feel uncomfortable, don't use it. Simple as that. But I do want to correct something here. It is not on the Pi core team to police apps that are on the ecosystem. There are criteria that the Pi network does use for allowing apps on the ecosystem, but that's where it ends, okay? The Pi core team is not under any responsibility to make sure that these apps are safe for you to use, because there's no way for them to do that. The reason why these apps are unverified is because they take you to third-party websites that are not part of the Pi network. As soon as that happens, then you're in uncharted waters and you are potentially in danger. And there's nothing the Pi core team can do. So the one thing I will say is people need to stop waiting for the Pi core team to say that things are okay within the ecosystem. Just like navigating the real world, there are no guarantees. You have to use your own good judgment. And the one thing I will tell you, and this should be obvious, but apparently it's not. Your passphrase belongs to you, and the only time you ever need it is when you're either verifying your wallet or accessing your wallet within the Pi app. Short of that, there is absolutely no reason for anyone else to ask for it other than them wanting to scam you. I hope that helps. Thanks for the question. This user asks, hi Dave, thanks again. I have 2 questions. Maybe you can elaborate a bit in your next videos. 1, what are your thoughts on the comments of Vince McPhillip lately? Could be involved again in any form? Well, this is an interesting one, and I call it interesting just because Vince McPhillip has come up a lot recently in social media. And I do want to show you one thing. This is a profile that appears to be Dr. Vincent McPhillip. If you look closely, it is not, and they don't make any bones about it. This is a Vincent McPhillip fan account. Imitation account right here. Imitation. Unofficial, used to publish Pi related information. Now, this account has been publishing regularly, and this should not be confused with anything from Vince McPhillip himself. And I say that because Vincent McPhillip has not said anything about the Pi core network since late 2024. And the only thing he had to say was that he is no longer involved with Pi. So anything that supposedly came or comes from Vince McPhillip is bogus. It's not real and should be taken with a huge grain of salt. The second question is, what are your thoughts on the Pi core team perhaps creating a stablecoin and how that would play out? Okay, well, how it would play out is pretty obvious, right? You create a stable coin and you now have a stable coin. that's pegged to some value related to either in a physical asset or fiat currency, most likely a fiat currency. Now, do I think the PiCore team will do this? I honestly do. I actually think this was part of their strategy all along. They don't really seem to care what the native PiCore PiCoin is doing. And if they want to have worldwide adoption and institutional use of their coin, they cannot be at the whim of market pressures when it comes to the valuation for their token or their coin. I made a slip there because I think the way they're going to deal with this is by creating a token that represents the PiCoin. And there's benefits to this. For example, they can make a stablecoin that's based on Pi that is pegged to a value of a fiat currency. Now, what this is going to require is an algorithmic approach to stabilizing the price. Now, there are very few algorithmic stablecoins that have been successful. And maybe the PiCore team thinks they can do it based on what went wrong with previous attempts. Most stablecoins these days rely more on liquidity and backing by real world assets. And some stablecoins have more transparency than others. And we have seen stablecoins fail. There's nothing about stablecoins that guarantees it won't fail. And the lack of transparency is one red flag that would make you wonder about whether it could fail. But I think to achieve the Pi Network's goals, they will at some point have to create a stablecoin. And that will be the coin that they use moving forward in the global economy. Now, I know that I'm going to get some people in here thinking that, oh, this is where GCV comes in. Nope. GCV is not a thing. It never was. There's so many things going on here. Dr. Nicholas Kukala says that the Pi community sets the price. And he wasn't wrong, but people misinterpret what he meant, and that we can directly dictate what the price is. No, that's not how it is. It's our behaviors that dictate the price. Now, before Open Mainnet, barter was how the Pi coin was used, and it could have a lot of different values. And having a consensus value was helpful. But now that it's on the open markets, that concept goes right out the window. Okay. And the only say that the community has is whether Pi coin enters the market. And as long as people are putting Pi coin in the exchanges, it's dictating the price. If you want to dictate a higher price, then you need to pull that coin out of there, and that will drive the price up. Okay, but you're not going to be able to demand a specific value. Now, creating a layer 2 coin on the layer 1 blockchain, you can set your own values, but that doesn't mean anyone's going to use it. So I had somebody ask me today about, hey, can I create a GCV coin? And I explained that, well, the only place you can do that right now is on testnet, and they didn't want that. And I think they were just kind of trying to salvage their idea of introducing GCV. And even if it's on mainnet, right? Let's say, for example, you can prove that your coin has utility and you want to set it at the GCV value. That's great. In theory, there's nothing to stop you from doing it. However, how are you going to get people to actually use it? That's the big question. And while it's backed by a coin that has 100 billion total supply, you're still limited. So I hate to be the storm cloud for you GCV believers, but creating layer 2 tokens is not going to realize the dream of GCV. Nothing will. And I don't know what else to say about that. So getting back to your question, there are lots of good reasons why the PiCore team would create a stablecoin based on Pi. And I think a stablecoin is what's needed to realize their goals. So that's just my understanding, my belief. We'll just have to see how that plays out. Thanks for the question. Now, I've got something on the rumor mill, and I don't know how valid this is or not, but it is coming from a producer of crypto wallets that says something big is in the works. And I just want to share it with you. Again, this is just rumor mill. There's no indication whatsoever how credible this is. Now, this is from Lumexo, which is a Stellar-based crypto wallet. And what they're saying is that the Pi network is adding 60 million users, which means the user base for Pi, to the Stellar XLM ecosystem with a single integration. I don't know if this is true. If it is true, it would be big. It would be a big deal. Now, it's not a big stretch. The Pi network is based on the Stellar consensus protocol. So having a bridge between XLM and the Pi coin is all that's needed to make this happen. But I haven't heard anything about that being in the works. Now, we know ultimately it has to be, right? If the Pi wallet is going to support multiple currencies, there has to be bridges. And if they're going to participate in exchanges, they need to have bridges. Like, for example, if they wanted to go on Binance, they have to have a bridge to BNB. There's just no way around it, because you have to be able to swap from one coin to another. And without a bridge, you can't do that. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But again, this is strictly rumor mill because it's coming from a producer of a product that would stand to benefit by hyping this. But if it's true, it's a big deal. So I just want to throw that out there. But again, keep your expectations and your hopes low, and you'll never be disappointed. Well, that's all I've got for today. There's been quite a bit to talk about. You know, unlike previous days, you never know what you're going to get. It's feast or famine when it comes to Pi news. But if anything breaks, I'll be sure to hop on here and let you know. But until then, don't panic. Stay the course, and remember, the success of the Pi network begins with you. Pi to the moon. Peace.